Well, joining me now is Vinay Nair, Chief Executive and co-founder of Lightful, a tech for social good company, to discuss this issue further. Thanks for being with us this morning on Sky News. What are you hearing about why people are hesitant? What sort of things are they saying?
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I think it's great that we're actually giving some attention to this story. And I think the report that you just showed shows the nuance that it isn't some sort of anti-vax extreme that we can dismiss or try and censor, but actually it's vital that we show empathy and understanding and reason of large parts of the community that are struggling with this. People are demonstrating a real sense of fear and concern around areas like what are the ingredients? Why did this happen so fast? What are some of the new news that are coming out of, oh, the EU approved it, but France and Germany haven't. And it's this constant element that is really in many ways targeting the vulnerabilities of religious groups or ethnic minority groups that is preying on them, and is just rapidly accelerating from a digital perspective as well on WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and so on.
And of course, a lack of endorsement from community leaders plays a big part as well, especially, as you say, to those vulnerable groups.
That's right, although I would argue that it's the community leaders that are playing the great role right now. You saw in that wonderful report just now, for example, GPs are playing a key role. The RCGP data that came out is stark, white people being 3 times as likely as mixed ethnicities, twice as likely as Black people to be vaccinated. So I think, and the RCGP, Martin Marshall, the chair, has played a key role. But you're also finding community leaders, I would say, Jonathan, playing a critical role right now, whether they're faith-based, in the community, community champions, and so on, who can take some of that messaging, recognize the level of mistrust that exists for the kind of top-down messaging that's occurring, and take that and spread that in their communities, both in person and on various social and digital channels as well. So it's vital that community leaders do play a role, but I would say that that is the path that will reduce some of these inequities that we see.
Another interesting point that was made in that report is that some NHS staff, nurses, for example, are refusing the vaccine, and that's a concern.
It certainly is. I think what is striking about this is that it isn't just one segment of society that is being affected. We find, for example, less trust, women from the age of 30 to 49, significantly less than men of a similar age, ethnic minority, white people from Eastern European backgrounds. And of course, we've talked about Black, Asian minority ethnic populations as well. So it is in every corner of the country, it's in every community. And that will, of course, therefore include NHS workers. On occasion, I would say by far, again, it's the NHS workers who are playing such an important role right now. I think that interesting comment from, I think it was Dr. Dawes on your report, it strikes me that why are we putting the burden on him to find who the pastor is to be able to contact? Rather, I think what we should be doing now is understanding those community leaders, faith-based leaders who are positively believing in this. There's some great examples in mosques in Leeds and in churches in Tottenham in North London that we should actually be looking to, and then equipping them with the ability to know what the information is, train them on how to tackle that misinformation when it comes to workplaces or schools or helplines, but then also inserting themselves into conversations when it comes to social media, when it comes to messaging platforms that we see as well. So I think that's the key element that will help us to turn the tide and go from kind of not just tackling misinformation that exists, but also using technology as a way to positively storytell and campaign. I mean, we saw Nadeem Zahawi on Sophie Ridge earlier, 11.5 million people having gotten that first dose. That's inspirational. Now it's incumbent on us urgently to get that spread more equitably across this country and many other countries, of course, as well.
Yeah, interesting you make that point about social media. Nadeem Zahawi on Sophie Ridge did also say that they've set up a government unit that's looking at those anti-vax messages on social media and then alerting the companies to take them down. And that's important work as well.
I couldn't agree more, Jonathan. And I think this is the element that I think that we need to start bringing together, because we're seeing some of the digital elements, and excellent to see a cross-party function that's happening in Cabinet Office. And indeed, CLG, the government department, has issued new funding to support 60 councils for community champions. But what's striking me is that we're seeing some work happening with the social media and technology companies. We're seeing a recognition that you need to be community first, but actually it's about doing both. It's about bringing them together right now and being able to reduce the amount of misinformation and work with the social media companies and technology companies accordingly. But this is happening in real time. We saw those figures from the RCGP. We can't only be reacting to messages and then trying to do it. We know even Nadeem Zahawi said himself that in his community, I think he was saying in the Middle Eastern community, this misinformation is proliferating from a digital basis. So it's now about helping those community leaders to know how they can tackle that misinformation across all of these channels that they're currently doing, but we're asking a lot of them already. And so now I think we need to give them that support and that training and the human touch and the ability to recognize where they are lacking confidence, lacking skills, and actually just supporting them to kind of do, it's a multi-pronged attack that we need right now. I think we need to do all of those elements.
Yeah, it really is. Let's hope we see some good progress in coming weeks. Thank you very much for your time, Vinay Nair. Good to speak to you.